She finally kissed the Mafia boss, right after grabbing the evidence to destroy him. Franco gave her the ultimate insurance. Documents that could ruin his entire criminal empire if he ever crossed her. Instead of running, she took the weapon, looked the devil in the eyes, and kissed him. She is no longer a pawn in his dark world. She holds the matches, and she decides if his empire burns. The kitchen at Vittorio's is brutal on Tuesday nights. Steam crawls along the ceiling, garlic burns in the pans, and Marco's voice cuts through everything as he shouts at 2 line cooks for ruining a sauce he already hates. Near the bar where the regulars pretend not to notice anything outside their drinks, Haley Cole keeps moving because stopping would make her feel how badly her feet hurt. Her uniform collar scrapes her neck. Her apron smells like wine, lemon, and hot oil, and she has been on her legs since noon. Chloe's tuition bill sits in the back of her mind like a stone. Then the front door opens, and the room changes before Haley even turns around. Franco Gardoni walks in alone. No one announces him, but the silence does. Forks slow against plates. Too quickly, then bows too low. 2 senior servers vanish toward the kitchen as if someone pulled them by strings. Franco is in his mid-30s, broad-shouldered and still, with a scar cutting along his jaw and dark eyes that seem to settle on people before they even know they have been judged. His suit is black, tailored, expensive without trying to prove it. Gold glints on one hand. Usually Dominic, his right hand, enters first and makes the room safe for him. Tonight Dominic is missing after a car crash that left half the staff whispering. Franco carries that absence like a wound he refuses to touch. Derek, the manager, finds Haley with one sharp glance. He does not say table 12 out loud. He only tilts his chin, the way cowards give orders when they want someone else to take the risk. Haley wants to say no. She wants to remind him she is still new, that she has closed 3 nights in a row, that Marco will blame her if the kitchen collapses again. Instead, she smooths her apron and walks toward Franco's table. The closer she gets, the colder the air feels. Cedar leather, rain on wool. Franco does not look up from his phone. His jaw is locked. Whatever message is on the screen has made the scar along his face look sharper. Haley gives the restaurant greeting, but the words sound thin. Franco finally looks at her. There is no anger in his eyes, only a quiet sort of attention that feels worse. He orders vodka first, in a low Italian accent, and tells her not to bring him the cheap bottle. And he asks for the swordfish. Haley feels her stomach tighten, knows the swordfish should have been thrown out yesterday. Marco kept it because wasting product means losing money, and Derek pretends not to know, because pretending is his strongest skill. Haley could nod, step away, and protect herself. Instead, she hears herself say, "The swordfish is not good tonight. The branzino is fresh. You should order that." Franco's eyes lift again, slower this time. For a moment, the whole restaurant seems to hold its breath. Haley can feel Derek staring from behind the service station. Franco studies her as if she has just done something either very brave or very stupid. "No one argues with me over fish," he says quietly. Haley keeps her hands still around her order pad. "I am not arguing. I am trying not to serve you something the kitchen should not be serving anyone." Something moves across his face, almost amusement, but it disappears before it becomes a smile. He closes the menu. "Bring the branzino, then." Haley turns before her nerve can break. Her heart is beating so hard she can hear it beneath the clatter of plates. Behind her, Franco watches her walk away. The rest of the shift feels wrong after that. Haley carries wine to one table, dessert to another. But every few minutes her eyes drift back to table 12. Franco eats alone with the careful patience of a man who never stops measuring exits. He sends the vodka back once because the glass is not cold enough. He says nothing about the fish, but the plate comes back clean. By 11:30, most of the dining room has emptied. The kitchen is closing. Chairs scrape against the floor. Still, Franco remains. Derek corners Haley near the bar and tells her to close his table. His voice is too casual. Haley knows he is afraid. She takes the bill, walks over, and prepares herself for whatever kind of danger wears a perfect suit. Franco does not touch the bill. "Walk with me," he says, "to the back patio." It is not a request, but Haley refuses to move right away. "I still have closing work." His eyes remain on her face. It will wait. Around the restaurant, the few men she thought where customers go still in a way customers never do. Their jackets hang too heavy. Their hands are too close to their sides. Haley understands then that Franco was never alone, only less visibly guarded. She could call Derek, but Derek would not help. She could refuse, but something in Franco's expression tells her the refusal would not end the conversation. So she follows him through the narrow hallway toward the patio, where the storm is already beating against the stone. The back patio is wet and nearly black. Rain spills over the stone roof in thick ropes, hammering the ground beyond the overhang. Franco lights a cigarette, the match flaring across his scar before the night swallows it again. Haley stays 3 steps away, close enough to hear him, far enough to run, though she knows running would be a fantasy. "Do you know who I am?" he asks. She steadies her breathing. "The man at table 12 who hates warm vodka." The corner of his mouth moves, not enough to be kind. He taps ash into the rain. "Running a business," he says, "means learning which people are problems and which people are assets." Haley's fingers tighten. She does not like where the sentence is going. Franco tells her he knows her name, not just Haley Cole, waitress 26. Double shifts at Vittorio's. He knows about the violent ex-boyfriend she testified against when everyone told her to stay quiet. He knows about Chloe, 17, brilliant, sick more often than she admits, fighting for scholarships because their life has never had room for mercy. He knows about the tuition bill taped inside Haley's kitchen cabinet, the one she looks at every morning like a dare. Every detail lands like a hand closing around her throat. "Why do you know this?" she asks. Franco looks almost tired. "Because honest people are rare in my world, and people who stay honest when they are cornered are rarer." That answer frightens her more than a threat would have. Haley takes 1 step back, but Franco closes the space with a calm that makes panic rise in her chest. Never close enough for her to see, but close enough to know what kind of person survives without becoming cruel. Rainwater slides off the edge of the roof between them. "You do not get to study me like a file," she says. He reaches out, fingers brushing her cheek, almost gentle. The contact snaps something in her. He pulls her toward him and kisses her. Haley freezes for 1 stunned second, then shoves both hands into his chest hard enough to make him step back. "Do not touch me without permission again," she says. "Not ever." Franco lets her go at once. His breathing is the only proof that his control has cracked. Haley keeps her voice low because shouting would make her sound afraid. "I have already helped put 1 violent man in prison. If I have to learn how to destroy a bigger one, I will." One of Franco's men shifts near the door, but Franco lifts a hand and stops him without looking away from Haley. "Good," he says softly. "There it is. My name is Franco Gardoni. And decide whether you want to pretend this never happened, or come back tomorrow and tell me to my face that I do not scare you." Haley hates that the challenge works. She leaves shaking, but she does not run. The drive home is all rain and red lights. Haley grips the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles ache. Every car behind her feels like a tail. Every shadow at an intersection looks like a man waiting. By the time she reaches the tiny apartment she shares with Chloe, fear has burned itself into something cold. Chloe is at the table in sweatpants and a faded college hoodie, surrounded by biology notes. Her glasses have slipped down her nose. She looks up once and knows. "You are late," she says. Haley tries to smile. "Closing ran long." Chloe closes the textbook without marking the page. "You look like someone scared you." Haley drops her keys into the chipped bowl by the door and says, "I am just tired." Chloe does not believe her. She has always been too smart for easy lies, and too used to trouble to ignore the way Haley keeps glancing toward the window. Their mother is on another overnight nursing shift, which means the apartment belongs to the 2 of them, and the silence they keep trying to outgrow. "Did something happen at work?" Chloe asks. Haley wants to tell her everything. The man in the suit, the patio, the way he knew about their life. But speaking Franco's name inside their home feels like inviting him through the door, so she says it was only a rude customer. Chloe watches her for a long time. "Fine," she says at last, "but if your lie gets bigger, I am going to notice." That night, Haley lies awake listening to Chloe breathe. The next morning, Haley calls Vittorio's to ask about her schedule. Derek answers with the careful voice of a man reading from a note. "Take Thursday and Friday off. A very important client thought you should rest." Haley nearly laughs. Rest. That is what Franco calls it when he reaches into her life and moves a piece without asking. By Thursday evening, the apartment feels too small to hold her anger. Chloe is at a scholarship interview practice session. Their mother is asleep before another shift. Haley stands in front of the mirror, staring at the dark circles under her eyes, and realizes the worst part is not fear, it is curiosity. She hates Franco. She is afraid of him. And still, she wants to see what he will do next, so she goes back to Vittorio's. She tells herself it is for money, for routine, for proof that one man cannot chase her out of her own life. The restaurant is tense when she arrives. Derek sees her and pales as if she has walked into a room already marked for disaster. Table 12 is reserved, he says. I figured, Haley replies, tying her apron. In a charcoal suit, one knuckle freshly split. He does not look surprised to see her. You came back, he says. I work here. You could have quit. I need the money. His eyes move over her face. That is true, he says, but it is not the whole truth. Then he nods at the chair across from him. Sit. Haley stays standing. I am working. Sit, Franco repeats. And the word is soft enough that anyone else might miss the command beneath it. Haley sits because refusing in the middle of the dining room would make every frightened eye turn toward her. Franco does not waste time. Chloe has an appointment Monday morning with the best hematology specialist in the state. The balance is covered. Transportation is arranged. Haley's skin goes cold. You had no right. I had the means, he says. Not the same thing. No, he agrees. You need someone with enough reach to get it before waiting lists and insurance delays bleed her dry. Haley's anger rises fast, but Chloe's name catches it by the throat. What do you want from me? Haley asks. Franco leans back, almost offended by how predictable the question is. No sex, no promise, no pretty surrender. I want permission to help, and one honest conversation when you are ready. Haley laughs once, bitter and quiet. You already did it. That is not permission. No, he says. It is leverage. I am telling you the truth, because pretending it is charity would insult both of us. The honesty is ugly, but it lands clean. Nearby, Derek pretends to polish a glass that has been dry for 10 minutes. Haley stands before Franco can see her hands shaking. I will think about it. You will accept it, he says, because you are angry, not foolish. She walks away before she proves him right. Franco leaves without saying goodbye. It's a $100 bill folded around a business card with only a number written on it. She almost throws it away. Instead, she slips it into her pocket and hates herself for doing it. At 1 a.m, Chloe is asleep on the sofa, a textbook open on her chest. Haley covers her with a blanket and stands there longer than she means to. If Franco's doctor is real, refusing him would punish Chloe for Haley's pride. If Haley accepts, she steps into debt to a man who collects debts for a living. Saturday afternoon brings the next knock. Heavy, slow, not a neighbor's knock. Haley looks through the peephole and sees a broad man in a dark coat. The man introduces himself through the door. Dominic, I work with Franco. His left arm is held stiffly against his side, and there is bruising along his cheek that not even careful grooming can hide. Haley keeps the chain on. If Franco sent you, tell him I am not impressed. Dominic almost smiles. I do not think he expects you to be. He says something else then. Something that makes the hallway seem to narrow. A rival faction called the Saigon Circle has noticed Franco's attention on you. They know your name, know your shifts. They know Chloe's school. Haley's hand goes numb on the chain. Dominic does not push the door. He waits. That restraint is what finally makes her unlatch it. Dominic sits on the edge of the sofa like a man trained never to relax. No theatrical warning and no attempt to comfort her. The Saigon Circle believes Franco has exposed a weakness. They may test it. You mean me. You and your sister. Haley feels the room tilt. The apartment suddenly looks exactly as fragile as it is. One thin door, one cheap lock, one window above a fire escape that sticks in winter. Dominic leaves a small black phone on the table. Use this, not your usual phone. Haley refuses to touch it at first. Dominic stands carefully, pain tightening his mouth. Franco wanted you warned before someone else used fear to control you. Then he leaves her with the silence. Haley's regular phone vibrates 10 minutes later. Unknown number. Stop using that device. It is compromised. The message is from Franco, and seeing his words there proves Dominic was not exaggerating. Haley turns the phone off and stares at the black screen. Her life has been entered, searched, mapped, and turned into a battlefield without her consent. The following week becomes a slow lesson in paranoia. At work, she watches the entrance more than the tables. At home, she walks Chloe to the bus stop and pretends it is because she wants coffee. Monday night, Franco sits at table 12 without speaking to her. His presence is not comfort. It is a warning placed in the center of the room. Wednesday, the warning becomes real. Haley is in the back parking lot, digging for her keys, when a dark sedan glides across the exit and stops. The engine stays running. Two men step out, ordinary jackets, ordinary faces, movements too smooth to be ordinary at all. Haley Cole, one says. We only need a minute. Haley backs away. Her fingers find the black phone in her coat pocket. She does not scream. Screaming wastes breath. Instead, she dials Franco's number and keeps her eyes on the men's hands. His answer comes on the second ring. Where are you? Parking lot. Two men. Dark sedan. His voice changes at once, going flat and cold. Stay where there is light. Keep talking. I am coming. How long? 7 minutes. 7 minutes becomes a whole lifetime. Haley edges toward the side wall, where the security camera points, making sure the men see she knows it is there. You want Franco, she says. Then look into the camera and tell him. The taller man smiles, but his eyes flick up. That tiny reaction gives her something to hold. She keeps moving sideways, not closer to the restaurant, but toward the delivery entrance, where Marco still has the back door propped open for smoke breaks. The sedan creeps forward. Headlights sweep across her legs. Then in the distance, engines roar. 3 black vehicles cut into the lot and brake hard. Franco steps out before the first car settles. Dominic is beside him, injured arm in a sling, gun already in hand. The men from the Saigon Circle leave without a fight, and that frightens Haley more than violence would have. They came to show they could reach her. They proved it, then vanished. Franco takes her keys from her shaking hand. Get in the car. Haley wants to argue, but her knees nearly give when she tries to stand straight. Neither of them speaks. Franco's jaw is hard enough to crack stone. Dominic follows behind them in another car. When they reach Haley's apartment, Chloe is at the kitchen table, startled by the sight of 2 dangerous men entering their small world. Franco does not soften the truth. He tells her about the Saigon Circle, the surveillance, the danger near her school. Chloe listens without crying. That breaks Haley's heart more than tears. Franco tells them they are moving to a secure property tonight. Haley says no before he finishes. Chloe stands beside her, pale but steady, and asks the practical question first. How long? Franco looks at Haley before answering, until the threat is neutralized. That could mean days, weeks, or whatever Franco decides it means. Haley understands the trap and refuses to step into it silently. If we go, she says, I keep my phone, my school access, and my right to speak to Chloe alone. Franco studies her, almost pleased. You negotiate well when cornered. I am not negotiating, Haley says. I am setting terms. For the first time that night, Franco gives a small nod. 45 minutes later, they pack everything they can carry. The secure apartment sits high above Boston in a building that hides its power behind silence. No dramatic gates, no visible guards, only cameras tucked into corners. Elevator codes, men who look like residents until they move. The unit itself is beautiful in a way that makes Haley angry. Wide windows, gray stone, clean counters, food already stocked, beds made with sheets softer than anything she has ever owned. Chloe touches the locked window and asks if it opens. No, Franco says, for security. Haley hears the other word underneath, containment. Franco does not deny it when she says so. Sometimes protection begins with taking away the easiest ways to be taken, he replies. Haley walks past him without answering, because punching him would not unlock the door. The first day inside the apartment crawls. Chloe studies because studying is how she keeps fear from swallowing her. Haley checks every door, every camera, every blind spot. By nightfall, she has mapped the entire place and found exactly one weakness: the kitchen service panel. Old enough that someone in a hurry might forget it, she says nothing. On Thursday, Franco arrives without warning and finds her sitting near that panel, with a cup of coffee she has not touched. He notices. Of course he notices. Planning an escape, he asks, evaluating my prison, she says. Chloe looks up from her calculus work. It is a very expensive prison. Franco accepts the insult calmly. Then he tells Chloe Dr. Hicks will see her Monday, and every cost is covered. Chloe asks why. Not with gratitude, but with suspicion sharpened by intelligence. Franco answers without romance or softness. Because your sister matters to me, and you matter to her. Because money can shorten suffering, and I have more of it than I deserve. Chloe leans back thinking. She is 17. But illness has made her older in all the worst ways. Do you expect me to like you for this? Franco's mouth tightens. No, I expect you to survive long enough to decide what you think of me. And he mentions, almost casually, that he has people at MIT willing to look at her work. Haley sees the flash in Chloe's eyes before Chloe can hide it. Hope has always been the most dangerous offer. After Franco leaves, Chloe waits until the elevator seals shut before she turns on Haley. He is the man from the parking lot, right? Haley says yes. Chloe folds her arms, small and thin in the oversized hoodie. He is dangerous, he wants you. And he knows exactly where to press until we say yes. Haley expects anger. Instead, Chloe gives her a look full of tired practicality. Do not destroy my chance at treatment, because you want to feel clean. The sentence lands harder than any accusation. Haley sits down because standing suddenly feels impossible. Chloe's voice softens. I hate this too, but if he opens a door, I am going through it. That does not mean he owns me. And it does not mean he owns you unless you let him. That night, Haley stands at the window and looks down at the city. The penthouse is too quiet, too clean, too high above the streets where real life still spills messily through traffic lights and wet sidewalks. She thinks about Franco's hand on her cheek, the kiss she rejected, the doctor he arranged, the men in the parking lot who left because his convoy arrived. She thinks about the service panel in the kitchen, and the black phone hidden under her pillow. If Franco believes fear will make her obedient, he has misread her. By morning, Haley has written down every name she has heard, every number on a license plate, every detail Dominic dropped while pretending not to. If she is trapped inside Franco's world, she will learn its architecture. By the second week, the apartment develops a strange rhythm. Franco arrives most evenings at 7. Sometimes he brings dinner, sometimes he brings nothing, and simply sits in the shadowed living room, listening while Chloe argues with an online lecture or Haley marks passages in her political science textbook. Chloe notices his habits first. You are very punctual for a criminal, she says one night. A brief laugh reaches his eyes. Punctuality keeps organizations alive. People who respect time usually respect consequences. Chloe looks unimpressed. People who kidnap waitresses also respect consequences. Haley expects Franco to punish the comment with silence. Instead, he says, I did not kidnap your sister. I cornered her options. Chloe snorts. That is worse phrasing, not better. Franco treats Chloe's mind seriously, and Haley hates how much that matters. He asks about her research, challenges her answers, sends her articles from people whose names make her sit straighter. With Haley, he is quieter. He lingers over coffee and asks what she is reading, not because he wants small talk, but because he wants to know the shape of her thoughts. One evening, he tells her about his father dying when Franco was 24. About the legitimate future he was supposed to have, about the family empire that closed around him before grief even had time to settle. I did not choose the door, he says. Haley looks at him across the kitchen counter. No, but you chose what you did after you walked through it. Franco does not argue. That is what unsettles her. A worse man would defend himself with excuses. Franco offers truth and lets it sit there, heavy and sharp. I have done unforgivable things, he says. I know. Then why do you still speak to me like I can understand decency? Haley does not answer quickly, because understanding right and doing right are not the same. And I need to know which one you are capable of. His eyes hold onto her face for a long time. Later, when he leaves, Haley finds herself angry for a new reason. He is not a monster simple enough to hate cleanly. He is careful, wounded, intelligent, dangerous, and capable of kindness when kindness benefits the person he has chosen. That makes him harder to escape. The fragile calm breaks on the third Friday. They are eating dinner when Franco's phone rings. He listens and all warmth leaves his body. Dominic has been taken, he says after hanging up. Chloe's fork slips from her hand and strikes the plate. Franco continues in a flat voice. The Saigon Circle wants a trade. Dominic, for Haley. Haley feels the table tilt beneath her. Dominic, who warned her. Dominic, who stood in the parking lot with an injured arm and still looked ready to die for Franco. Franco stands by the window, already calculating. Haley can see the old machinery moving behind his eyes, the part of him that turns terror into options and options into sacrifice. She refuses to be one more piece on his board. Franco says he has 3 choices: negotiate and make Haley a permanent target, attack and start a war, and betray the whole reason he moved them. Haley listens until he finishes, then says, "You missed the 4th. Franco turns. "We make them regret wanting me." Chloe looks at her sharply. Haley goes to the counter, pulls out the notebook she has been filling in secret, and drops it on the table. License plates, names, timing patterns, bits of conversation, locations she heard from Dominic's calls, details Franco thought she was too frightened to keep. Franco opens it, and for the first time Haley sees real surprise on his face. "I have been watching too," she says. "You are not the only person who can study a room." Haley lays out the plan before fear can talk her out of it. They give the FBI enough to make the Saigon Circle more dangerous in federal eyes than Dominic is valuable in theirs. Not everything Franco knows, because she understands he will never hand over his whole empire, but enough to force pressure fast. Franco studies the pages. Chloe asks the question neither of them wants spoken. What happens to Haley if the FBI decides she is useful too? Haley answers before Franco can. "No one can disappear me quietly." Franco looks at her with something close to respect. "You understand leverage." "I understand being cornered," Haley says. "There is a difference. They work through the night." Haley writes while Franco corrects names, and Dominic's second-in-command verifies addresses through burner phones. Chloe builds a timeline on the living room floor, with sticky notes, pain making her pale but not slowing her mind. At 3 in the morning, Haley catches Franco watching Chloe, with an expression she cannot read. "Do not use her," Haley says. His gaze returns to her. "I would not." "You use everyone. Then set the rule," he says. Haley does. Chloe stays out of the exchange. Her name does not appear in any document. Her school, her illness, her future remain untouched. Franco agrees without bargaining. That matters more than Haley wants it to. Before dawn, the message goes out through channels the Saigon Circle cannot ignore. The dossier is not a threat, it is a clock. It tells the Saigon Circle exactly how many federal doors will open if Dominic is not returned. Names, accounts, drop locations to corrupt dock supervisors, a warehouse tied to shipments Franco had never been able to prove. The response comes 32 minutes later. Dominic is thrown from moving sedan onto a side street near the old fish market. No gunfire, no speech, just a body left breathing in the fog. Franco brings him to the apartment before sunrise, bruised, bleeding, furious at needing help. Haley stands in the hallway as Dominic looks at her notebook on the table. "You did this?" he asks. She says yes. "And do not ever call yourself collateral again," he says. By 10 that morning, Haley is sitting in a federal office under fluorescent lights that make everyone look guilty. Special Agent Morrison has gray hair pulled tight, calm hands, and the kind of eyes that do not waste pity. A federal prosecutor sits beside her. Franco places a folder on the table. 3 years of Saigon Circle structure, roots, names, and financial channels. Morrison does not touch it right away. She looks at Haley first. "Did he coerce you into coming here?" Franco's jaw hardens, but Haley speaks before he can. "He coerces everyone by existing," she says. "But I chose to bring this." Morrison almost smiles. "Good. Then understand this. Once you give a statement, you become part of the case." Haley already knows. That is why she has demands. Franco asks for limited protection from prosecution on specific past acts tied to the Saigon Circle operation. Morrison calls it outrageous. Franco calls it realistic. Haley interrupts both of them. She does not ask the government to trust Franco. She asks them to use him, without pretending that makes him clean. Then she asks for her own protection in writing, her sister's name excluded, her school records sealed, her address shielded, and any future interview requiring her lawyer present. Morrison studies her with new interest. "You have counsel." Haley lifts her chin. "I will by this afternoon." Franco's mouth barely moves, but Haley knows he is pleased. For once, she is not moving because he pushed her. She is moving because she has learned the board. The deal is not clean. Nothing in that room is. But it moves. Over the next 3 days, raids hit 7 locations across Boston. Haley watches the news from the safe apartment while Chloe sleeps under a blanket on the sofa, recovering from another dizzy spell she tried to hide. 17 arrests. Millions seized. A spokesman calls it a victory for public safety, which makes Haley laugh once without humor. The public will never know how much of the victory came from a mafia boss protecting his own territory, a waitress protecting her sister, and a criminal faction making the mistake of choosing the wrong woman as bait. By Friday, the Saigon Circle's Boston network is broken. Franco wins. The FBI wins. Haley is not sure what she has won yet. Dominic recovers in silence, which Haley learns is his preferred language. He sits in the corner with 2 cracked ribs and a split lip, pretending pain is a scheduling inconvenience. When Haley brings him coffee, he accepts it without sarcasm. "You saved my life," he says. Haley looks toward Franco's closed office door. "I saved my own first." Dominic nods as if that is the correct answer. Later, Franco tells her, the government has frozen enough Saigon Circle accounts to cripple them locally. He says it like a man discussing weather. Haley asks how many people will come looking for what was lost. Franco does not lie. "Some. Then I want names before they reach me," she says. Franco pauses. "That is not a request." "No," she says. "It is a condition. The next crisis is not armed men or federal pressure. It is Chloe's blood work. The specialist says medication is no longer enough. There is a lesion contributing to the severe anemia, and surgery cannot wait." Haley hears the words from across a polished desk and feels years of exhaustion fall through her body at once. The price is impossible. The schedule is worse. Franco already has the hospital documents before Haley does. "It is handled," he says in the car afterward. Haley turns on him so fast Dominic glances in the mirror. "Do not say that like my sister is one of your shipments." Franco's voice remains low. "She is not. And stop making decisions before I even know there is one." This time he does not answer immediately. At the apartment, Haley puts the hospital folder on the table between them. "You can pay," she says, "but I sign every document. I speak to every doctor. Chloe hears every option. No private arrangements. No hidden pressure. No favors I find out about after they are done." Franco's gaze sharpens, not with anger, but recognition. "You are learning to make my money obey your terms. I am learning not to confuse help with surrender." Chloe, pale on the sofa, says quietly, "I like that rule." Franco looks from one sister to the other and finally nods. The surgery is scheduled for Friday morning. The relief should feel simple. It does not. It arrives tangled with fear, gratitude, and the knowledge that Haley has just allowed Franco deeper into the most sacred part of her life. Friday morning is painfully bright. The private facility has quiet hallways, warm lighting, and nurses who already know Franco's name without needing to ask. Haley hates all of it until Chloe squeezes her hand outside the operating room. "Do not fight the building," Chloe whispers. "Fight if the doctor is bad." Haley laughs because if she does not, she will break. The surgery is supposed to take 3 hours. It takes 4, then 4.5. Franco stands twice to make calls Haley cannot hear. Dominic stays by the door, still bruised, refusing to sit. When the surgeon finally appears, his face is tired but steady. The lesion is removed. There was more bleeding than expected, but Chloe is stable. Haley covers her mouth with both hands and nearly folds in half. In recovery, Chloe sleeps under thin white blankets, small in a way Haley has not let herself see in years. Machines beep softly. Franco stays near the window, far enough not to intrude, close enough that every nurse who enters understands someone powerful is watching. Haley sits beside Chloe and lets gratitude come, not as forgiveness, but as truth. Franco did this. Franco paid. Franco opened doors. And Haley forced him to do it on terms that left her sister human, not owned. Monday morning, back at the safe apartment, Haley finds Franco in the kitchen making coffee badly. She takes the cup from him before he ruins it. "Thank you," she says. The words are quiet. They still cost her something. Franco only nods. "Made it harder to help you. That was wise." When Chloe is strong enough to return home, their old apartment feels smaller than Haley remembers. The floor still creaks near the window. The sink still drips if the handle is not turned just right. But the place is theirs, and that matters. Franco sends discreet security, not men stationed like prison guards, because Haley demanded distance. 2 drivers rotate near Chloe's school. Haley receives their names, photos, and schedules in writing. Franco does not like giving that much control away. He does it anyway. At Vittorio's, whispers follow Haley through the dining room. Some servers avoid her. Others stare like she has become part of a story they are afraid to ask about. Haley keeps working. Routine, even ugly routine, reminds her she still belongs to herself. On Thursday, Franco returns to table 12. The restaurant stiffens around him the way it always has, but Haley no longer feels like the room is closing. She brings the branzino without being asked. He looks at the plate, then at her. "You remembered. You are predictable," she says. He asks her to sit. She does, but only after handing her other tables to a server who owes her a favor. Franco notices the small act of choice. How is Chloe? Better, angry at the slow recovery. That is healthy. Haley watches him cut into the fish with unnecessary precision and asks the question that has been sitting inside her for days. Why keep doing this when every favor makes me harder to reach? Franco sets down the knife. Because you are beginning to matter, Franco says. Not as an object, not as a debt, as a person whose life changes the calculations I make. Haley hates the calm honesty of it. You say that caring is another department in your organization. For me, it has always been close to that. Responsibility, protection, control when necessary. She leans forward. Then learn this now. I am not territory. I am not a warehouse, not an account, not a borderline with a pretty face. If you care about me, you do not get to manage me like a risk. Franco's eyes darken, but he does not look away. What do I get then? Haley stands. The chance to ask. Nothing more. She leaves him with the bill and no answer to chase. Over the next 2 weeks, Franco appears less often, and that absence feels deliberate, not neglect. A lesson, maybe, for both of them. When he does come, he does not summon her. He waits until she chooses to approach. It should make him less dangerous. Instead, it makes his presence harder to dismiss. On Friday before dinner rush, he places an espresso on the bar from the little shop 2 blocks away, the one Haley had mentioned once after a bad shift. A peace offering, he says. Haley takes it because refusing coffee would be childish, and she is tired of performing purity for a world that has never rewarded it. Then he tells her Chloe has been offered a full scholarship interview track at MIT. Haley's hand tightens around the cup. Did you buy her way in? Haley asks. Franco does not flinch. No. I bought her the right to be seen by people who were already supposed to notice brilliance, and often do not. Haley wants to hate the sentence. She wants a cleaner villain, a cleaner rescue, a cleaner world. Franco gives her none of that. Chloe's work is hers, he says. Her mind is hers. I opened doors. She walked through them. Later, Haley tells Chloe everything. Not the version that makes Franco sound noble. Not the version that makes him sound purely corrupt. The whole tangled truth. Chloe listens, then says good. If the door opens, I am still the one walking. That night, Haley realizes her sister may be freer than both of them. Haley tries to build a normal life around the edges of the abnormal one. She returns to school, sits in lecture halls that smell like old paper and burnt coffee, and takes notes on institutions, power, knowing more than her classmates can imagine. Joshua from her political science seminar asks her to coffee. He is kind, careful, handsome in a safe way, and his hands do not make her think of locked doors or rain-soaked patios. She says yes because she needs proof that Franco's gravity is not the only force left in her life. Joshua talks about justice as if justice is a system waiting to be fixed by the right argument. Haley listens and envies the softness of that belief. Joshua kisses her after their 3rd coffee, gentle and uncertain, and Haley lets him. Nothing is wrong with him. That is the problem. He belongs to the life she once thought she was trying to reach. A life of exams, rent, late buses, harmless dates, and futures that do not require burner phones. But when he talks about organized crime as an abstract failure of enforcement, Haley hears Franco's voice in her mind dismantling every simple sentence. She tells Franco about Joshua because lying has become too heavy. Franco only nods. No jealousy, no threats. That calm hurts more than anger. Are you not going to warn him off? She asks. Franco looks at her. You told me I could ask, not manage. I listened. Haley has no defense against that. The fragile peace breaks at the midnight cafe. Franco sits across from Haley in the back booth, steam curling from a cup he has not touched. The FBI wants a sworn recorded statement, he says. Haley feels the old trap closing from a new direction. We gave them enough. Cases grow, he says. So do appetites. Your observations helped 3 prosecutions they could not build alone. Now they know you hear what others miss. Haley looks through the window at the dark street. Powerful people have learned she is useful, and usefulness is another kind of cage. Franco says he can manage the exposure. Haley shakes her head. No, I will manage it. You can advise. You can protect the perimeter. But my testimony is mine. That night, Haley drives to the ocean instead of going home. The air is cold enough to bite. Waves break in the dark, loud and indifferent. She calls Morrison from the black phone and leaves a message with 3 conditions: her own attorney, full written immunity for truthful statements, and a sealed guarantee that Chloe remains outside the file. Then she calls Franco. I contacted Morrison directly, she says. There is a pause long enough to tell her he did not expect it. Good, he says at last. You sound annoyed. I sound impressed. Haley looks at the water and almost smiles. The difference matters. The next morning, the headlines call the Saigon Circle case a victory. Haley reads them and knows victory is rarely as clean as print makes it look. Over coffee, Franco explains what the headlines leave out. Boston's Saigon Circle network is broken, not destroyed everywhere. Their money will move. Their people will scatter. Some will be absorbed by worse groups. Power does not vanish because agents carry boxes out of warehouses. It changes names and weights. Haley asks what Franco gained. He answers without dressing it up. Breathing room. Local rivals weakened. The FBI looking harder at men who wanted him gone. Fewer bodies in the street for now. Haley studies him. You used my testimony to protect your empire. Franco meets her eyes. You used my empire to protect your sister. The words cut because they are true. For once, Haley has no clean reply, only a heavier silence. On the 71st day after the parking lot, Franco invites Haley to a quiet restaurant with amber lights and a pianist who never looks up from the keys. He tells her the FBI has closed the immediate inquiry against him without charges. He also tells her he has changed internal rules. Better pay for his men, medical support for families, no civilian targets, no violence without direct authorization. Haley studies him across the table. You make reform sound like inventory control. In my world, rules save lives when morality fails. She should reject the sentence. Instead, she asks the harder question. Did I change this? Or did you change it because I was watching? Franco answers after a long silence. And he adds, and because someone inside my house helped them find Chloe. The sentence steals the air from Haley's lungs. Franco places a photograph on the table. A man in his organization, smiling beside Chloe's school entrance weeks before the parking lot. Haley recognizes him from the safe building lobby, from one elevator ride, from one polite nod she barely noticed. Franco says his name is Enzo Vale, a trusted logistics man. He sold pieces of Haley's life to the Saigon Circle before Dominic was taken. He did not know Chloe's medical details, but he knew enough: school routes, timing, guards. Haley feels heat flood her face. You knew this and did not tell me. Franco's answer is quiet. I learned it today. Dominic confirmed it an hour ago. Haley stands so fast her chair scrapes across the floor. Then we are done talking here. Franco follows her outside into the cold alley behind the restaurant. Haley turns on him before he can speak. This is what I mean when I say your protection is not safety. Your world found my sister. Your men carried our names like currency. Franco's face is still, but his eyes are dark with something close to shame. Enzo will answer for it. Haley steps closer, furious enough to forget fear. I do not care what happens to Enzo first. I care that Chloe almost paid for your blind spot. You wanted to be the wall between us and danger. But the danger was already standing inside your wall. Franco says her name. She cuts him off. No. Tonight you listen. If Chloe had been taken, no kiss, no money, no apology would have left enough of you for me to hate. By the 90th day, Boston settles into a tense kind of quiet, but Haley no longer trusts quiet. Franco's organization still exists, still criminal, still capable of violence. Yet the new rules are no longer theoretical. No civilian targets, no public retaliation, medical funds for families, full audits of anyone close to protected routes. Dominic calls the last one the Haley Doctrine, and this time Haley does not laugh. Enzo Vale disappears from the streets within 48 hours, not dead, but delivered to Morrison with enough evidence to bury him for years. Franco does not ask Haley to thank him. He knows better. In August, Chloe leaves for MIT. At the gate, she hugs Haley hard and whispers, "Do not confuse his guilt with your responsibility." After Chloe leaves, Franco visits Haley's apartment for the first time, without a crisis attached to him. The room looks painfully ordinary around him. The chipped table, the radiator that knocks at night, the second-hand bookshelf sagging under school texts. He does not insult it with pity. "Your sister will do extraordinary things," he says. Haley looks at the rain on the window. She already is. Around day 98, Haley gives her federal deposition. Her attorney sits beside her. Morrison records every word. Haley describes the safe apartment, the Saigon Circle messages, the parking lot, Enzo Vale, the names she heard, and the patterns she noticed. She does not protect Franco from truth. She does not protect herself from it either. By the end, she feels less like a witness than a blade someone has finally learned to hold. Franco picks her up afterward and does not ask what she said. That is the first mercy he gives without making her request it. He drives to the gray edge of the ocean, where wind tears at her coat and gulls cry somewhere beyond the fog. For a long time, they stand without speaking. Then Franco says, "I failed you." Haley looks at him. "I manipulated you from the beginning." "Yes, I cared and still made decisions that put you near danger." "Yes." He turns toward her. "Both are true. That is what makes you dangerous to me," she says. "Not your men, not your money. Give me the phone, Sophia. The fact that you can do something terrible and something good with the same hands, then expect me to survive the difference." Franco has no defense. For once, that feels like an answer. A year later, Vittorio still smells of garlic, wine, and old wood polished too many times. Burgundy walls are the same. Marco still shouts at the kitchen staff as if volume can fix poor timing. But Haley is different. She works fewer shifts now, studies more, and no longer walks through life pretending Franco Gardoni is a chapter she can close by force. On a Wednesday at 8:15, he enters late and sits at table 12. He orders branzino without looking at the menu. Haley brings it to him herself. Neither of them mentions the first night. They do not have to. Memories stay in the room long after the people who made them learn to breathe around them. At 10, when the dining room has thinned and the bar lights glow low, Franco nods toward the back patio. Haley follows, not because he commands it, but because she chooses to hear what he came to say. There is no storm tonight, only a cold October breeze and the distant sound of traffic shining on wet streets. "How is school?" he asks. Haley leans against the stone pillar where she once threatened to destroy him. "Difficult." "Good. I am focusing on criminal justice reform." Franco's mouth curves faintly. "Studying the systems that made men like me. Studying the systems that allow men like you to survive," she corrects. He accepts the distinction. He has learned, at least, not to turn every answer into a cage. He tells her Chloe called from MIT and argued with a professor in her second week. Haley smiles despite herself. "That sounds right." Franco says Chloe's research advisor is already impressed. Haley feels pride open in her chest, clean and bright. "She is brilliant," Haley says. "You only opened a door." Franco looks at the city beyond the patio wall. "I used to think opening doors created debts, and now I think sometimes it only proves the door should never have been locked." Haley studies him carefully. That answer sounds almost decent. He lets out a quiet breath. "Do not worry. I have not become harmless." "No," she says, "but you have become more honest about the harm. In their world, that counts for more than it should." Franco tells her the organization has changed again, not saved, not cleansed, changed, fewer street soldiers. More legitimate fronts, a fund for families, a hard ban on pressure civilians, outside audits of security routes. Because Enzo's betrayal left a wound Franco cannot pretend did not happen. Dominic calls the new rules the Haley Doctrine, Franco says with dry irritation. Haley laughs once. "I hate that." So does Dominic. But he uses it. Then Franco grows serious. "You made me better, not good. Better." Haley looks at him in the cool night and understands why the sentence hurts. Better is not forgiveness, but it matters. "I am not in love with you," she says. Franco's smile is small, almost sad. "I know, but you are entangled with me, and sometimes that outlasts love." Inside the closed restaurant, Franco dismisses Derek with a glance and takes his usual seat. He shows Haley photos on his phone, a renovated kitchen for his men, medical supplies, safer housing, records of compensation paid to families after injuries, and a new security protocol that keeps civilian names out of internal circulation. Not proof of innocence, proof of change with dirty hands. "What am I looking at?" Haley asks. A blueprint. Every practical suggestion you made during your deposition, I implemented. Haley scrolls through the images slowly. These are not flowers. These are systems altered because she refused to be quiet. You changed my world, Franco says, even if you could not save me from it. Haley hands the phone back. Maybe saving was never the point. The door chimes before Franco can answer. Chloe walks in wearing an MIT hoodie, hair windblown, cheeks red from the cold. She has a backpack stuffed with papers and the restless energy of someone whose mind has been moving faster than the train that brought her home. She hugs Haley first, then Franco, which still startles Haley even after all this time. Chloe spreads research notes across table 12 and begins explaining a theory about blood disorders and cellular repair with bright, breathless intensity. Franco listens with full attention, asking questions sharp enough to make her grin. Watching them, Haley feels the old fear and the new tenderness sit side by side. This is not the life she would have chosen. It is still hers to name. After Chloe leaves to meet a friend, the restaurant settles into a deep quiet. Haley wipes the bar, though it is already clean. Franco remains at table 12, not rushing her, not summoning her. That patience still feels strange on him. A year ago, Haley says, I thought surviving meant getting out untouched. Now I think nobody gets out untouched. The question is what you refuse to let the world take. Franco watches her with that heavy, careful gaze. And what did you refuse? Haley looks around Vittorio's, at the worn tables, the door to the kitchen, the patio beyond. My judgment, my sister, my future. Then after a pause she adds, my right to tell you no. Franco nods. Good. I would hate to have broken the best part. Haley meets his gaze. You did not break me. Do not flatter yourself. For the first time that night, Franco laughs openly, quiet but real. She sits across from him because she wants to. And the difference matters more than any confession could. He asks if she will stay in Boston after graduation. Haley answers without hesitation. Until law school accepts me somewhere better. Then I go. Franco's face gives away almost nothing. But she has learned to read the small stillness that means he felt the cut. You would leave. I will leave if that is where my life goes. And you will not stop me. Franco's answer comes slowly. No, I will not stop you. Haley believes him only halfway. That is enough for tonight. Before closing, Franco places a sealed envelope on the table. Haley does not touch it. What is that? Insurance, he says. Copies of documents that could damage me if I ever forget what you are. Haley stares at him. A trap, a weapon, yours, and something else. Her name is Evelyn Marks. Haley's blood turns cold. Franco slides a photograph from the envelope. Haley's mother, younger, standing outside Vittorio's years ago beside Franco's father. She helped him disappear from a federal sweep before you were born, Franco says quietly. That old debt is why I first looked at your family. Haley grips the edge of the table. So I was never random. No, Franco says. But what happened after I found you was real. Haley takes the envelope with shaking hands. Then reality starts with the truth. Not with you choosing when I get to hear it. They close Vittorio's together in the dark, but the air between them has changed again. Franco wipes down the worn tables while Haley counts the last drawer and turns off the bar lights one by one. Outside, October air cuts clean against her face. The envelope sits heavy in her bag, carrying proof against Franco, and the first real clue to the life her mother never explained. Before Haley gets into her car, Franco steps closer, then stops and waits. This time she is the one who decides. She kisses him once, slow and brief, then pulls away before the moment can become a promise. Their bond is still unresolved, still dangerous, still full of truths that may hurt more than lies. But Haley is no longer inside Franco's story. She is holding the pages now. And if the next chapter burns, she will be the one to strike the match. Every mafia boss story is not only about power, money, revenge, or fear. Beneath the violence and darkness, there is often a painful human lesson about choices, consequences, loyalty, family, and the price of ambition. This story reminds us that no matter how powerful a person becomes, no one can escape the truth forever. Hundreds of people, and make others tremble at the sound of his name. But if his heart is empty, his victory is never complete. The mafia boss in this story represents a man who built his life on control. He believed that fear was stronger than love, that silence was safer than honesty, and that power could protect him from pain. For years, He may have won every battle in the streets, in business, and among his enemies. But the most important battle was never outside him. It was inside his own heart. That is where he truly lost himself. One of the most meaningful lessons from this story is that power without morality becomes a prison. Many people dream of becoming rich, respected, or feared. They think success means having control over others. But real success is not measured by how many people obey you. It is measured by how many lives you protect, how much peace you create, and how much good remains after you are gone. The Mafia boss had money, influence, and protection, but he did not have peace. His life shows us that a person can be surrounded by luxury and still feel completely alone. Another important lesson is that loyalty is valuable, but blind loyalty can destroy lives. In the world of crime, loyalty is often treated like the highest law. People are expected to follow orders without question. Never mean giving up your conscience. A loyal person does not simply protect someone else's secrets. A loyal person also has the courage to stop someone from destroying themselves. This story teaches us that loyalty without honesty is dangerous. Real loyalty should be connected to truth, respect, and moral responsibility. The story also shows the heavy cost of revenge. Revenge often feels powerful in the beginning. It gives a person the illusion that pain can be answered with pain, but revenge rarely heals anything. Instead, it creates a chain of suffering that keeps growing. One act of revenge leads to another. One betrayal leads to another. In the end, everyone loses something. The Mafia boss may have believed that revenge would restore his honor, but what it truly did was steal his humanity piece by piece. This is a powerful reminder that forgiveness is not weakness. Sometimes, forgiveness is the strongest decision a person can make because it breaks the cycle of hatred. Family is another central lesson in this kind of story. Many mafia bosses claim they do everything for family. They say they commit crimes to protect the people they love. But protection without honesty can become another form of harm. A family does not only need money or security. A family needs trust, emotional safety, and love that is not poisoned by fear. If a father, husband, brother, or son becomes powerful but loses the ability to show tenderness, then his family may live in a beautiful house, but still feel trapped inside it. This story reminds us that children and loved ones often pay the price for the choices of powerful men. The mafia boss may think his decisions only affect his enemies, but every secret, every violent act, and every betrayal leaves a shadow over the innocent people around him. That is why one of the strongest educational messages is this: before making a decision, we must ask ourselves who will suffer because of it. A selfish choice may bring temporary success, but it can create long-term pain for the people we love most. Another meaningful point is the danger of pride. Pride can make a person refuse to apologize, refuse to change, and refuse to admit they are wrong. The mafia boss may have spent years believing that saying sorry would make him look weak, but in reality, the ability to apologize is a sign of strength. It takes courage to face the damage we have caused. It takes maturity to admit that we hurt someone, and it takes true character to change before it is too late. The story also teaches that redemption is possible, but it always requires sacrifice. A person cannot simply say they have changed. They must prove it through action. Redemption means accepting responsibility, protecting the innocent, telling the truth, and sometimes losing everything that was built on lies. For a mafia boss, redemption may mean walking away from power, exposing corruption, saving someone he once endangered, or choosing love over control. The path to redemption is painful, because it forces a person to confront the worst parts of themselves. But it is also the only path that can lead to peace. From a human perspective, this story is powerful because it shows that even the hardest heart can still feel pain. Behind the cold eyes of a mafia boss, there may be regret, loneliness, childhood wounds, or a deep fear of being betrayed. This does not excuse his actions, but it helps us understand that broken people often break others when they never learn how to heal. The educational value here is important. Pain should not become an excuse to hurt people. Instead, pain should become a reason to grow, to seek wisdom, and to choose a better path. For viewers, the lesson is not to admire the criminal lifestyle, but to understand its emptiness. The suits, cars, mansions, and power may look attractive from the outside, but behind them there is often fear, guilt and loss. A life built on violence can never bring true happiness. A life built on lies can never bring true freedom. And a life built on fear can never create real love. In the end, the story of a mafia boss is really a warning. It warns us that every choice has a consequence. It warns us that money cannot buy peace. It warns us that fear cannot replace respect. It warns us that revenge cannot heal a wounded heart. Most importantly, it reminds us that the greatest power a person can have is not the power to control others, but the power to control themselves. The deepest lesson is simple but meaningful. Choose character over pride, love over control, truth over silence, and forgiveness over revenge. No matter how dark a person's past may be, change is possible when they are willing to face the truth. But the longer someone waits, the higher the price becomes. A mafia boss may win the streets, defeat his enemies, and build an empire, but if he loses his soul, he has lost everything. True strength is not found in violence. True strength is found in responsibility, compassion, humility, and the courage to become better before it is too late.